Author Max Lucado tells this story about himself and a few of his friends who went fishing. They were so excited to get out of town. The weather was awful where they were at, and so they packed their bags, they loaded the camper, and they were off. And as they went to sleep that night, man, they had dreams of fishing on their mind. But when they woke up in the morning, the sky was gray, it was cloudy, and the weather was not good enough to fish. But they were okay. They had plenty of snacks, they brought some games, and they passed the day. And again, they went to bed with sights of fishing on their minds. But when they woke up the next morning, the sky was still gray and the weather was worse. It became evident that the gray that was in the sky had now entered into their camper. They became very short with one another. There were a lot of sarcastic remarks, but they still held out hope that the next day they would be able to fish. But when they woke up that third morning, the sky was gray, the weather was awful, and they were at each other's throats. Until finally one person suggested, let's just leave and go home. Well, that was the only thing they agreed on the entire time. The point of this real life story is this, that when those who are called to fish don't fish, they fight. When energy that's intended to be used outside is used inside, the result is explosive. Instead of casting nets, we cast stones. Instead of extending helping hands, we point accusing fingers. Instead of being fishers of the lost, we become critics of the saved. Rather than helping the hurting, we hurt the helpers. And so as we continue this theme of humility, I believe that we will discover that as we live on mission together, humility will bloom. But when we don't, pride will take root. So let's turn to 1 Corinthians 12, 15 through 18, and to be reminded about the part we each play on this mission together. Here's how it reads. Now, if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. So let's notice three things that Paul points out here. First, we each have an individual part to play in a corporate mission. Second, we live out this mission not independently, but interdependently. And third, we live this mission out in unity, but not uniformity. In other words, there is unity in diversity. And therefore, we must be careful not to try to make everyone fit into our mold. And we must be careful to resist comparing ourselves to others. This can lead to mission drift, where a pseudo mission where we become on mission for ourselves rather than Christ. And this is one of the surest ways to neglect humility. I think part of the way God keeps us humble is by giving others gifts and roles to play that we don't have. And vice versa. And rather than allowing these differences to become a source of pride, comparison, or jealousy, let us remember that it's not in spite of these differences that we are on mission together, but it's actually through these differences we are on mission together. Right? We would be lousy mission partners if we were all the eye, or if we were all the ear, or if we were all the arm. So let's not despise what makes us effective as a body of Christ, but rather let us celebrate it. And as we do, we will begin to lose ourselves in a common mission, which will lead to loving each other in a powerful way. I want to leave you with this question. Who is someone gifted differently than you are that you may need to begin to celebrate those person's gifts?